Let's see. Good afternoon. We're just going to do a quick check here to make sure that the technology is working like it should. Let me just double check. If you are tuning in, let me know. Say hi in the comments here. I just want to do a quick check here to see if I am up and running. I think I am. Here I am. Love it. All right. Great. If you are tuning in live or you're catching the replay, let me know in the comments, live or replay. I'm really excited to be talking to you today about one of the most common questions that I often get, especially from my female entrepreneurs. The conversation is really around leadership and empowerment. Today, in this episode of Tasty Yes Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about how you really need to break all the rules about empowerment to truly command and earn your worth. Why? Why is that coming up? Recently, I was in a conversation with a few different women, female entrepreneurs, and oftentimes we seek work-life balance, right? We're often thinking about what does work-life balance feel like, especially those of us with family and kids, right? How do you juggle it all? And I've done a lot of work in the women empowerment space, all the way from when I was working in corporate and I was a woman in tech and often a woman of color, right, in technology and mentoring young women growing their careers. I've also sat on the board of directors for nonprofit organizations, helping to raise and build partnerships with large companies. And I have had to sit in that seat as part of the board of directors, representing what it meant to not only be a woman at the table, but a person of color at the table. And then now in my most recent journey, I have also been at the table with many female entrepreneurs, many people of color entrepreneurs, many diverse entrepreneurs at the table. And I've also had the hat of serving the communities that I love. I am also a really big philanthropist and I give back in the work that I do, especially being an Asian Hmong woman through an organization that I founded called Hmong Women Take on the World. And every other year, we launch a global online celebration summit to empower Hmong women and girls all around the world in just a weekend, right? So I have sat in this seat across different sectors, across different industries, from a nonprofit to for-profit and private. And I've had this conversation about work-life balance, self-love, self-care, and what does it really mean to be empowered? So if you're watching this, let me know in the comments, say hi, let me know that you're here. So let me ask you this. Drop it in the comments. Let me know, what does empowerment mean to you? What does empowerment mean to you? Let me know in the comments, right? And this is really key because oftentimes when we're thinking about what empowerment starts to look like for us, we realize that oftentimes empowerment feels like something internal, right? Like something on the inside. And there's a lot of us that spend a lot of time looking internally to look at really what does empowerment start to look like. And I love, I got to share this one. This is actually, I'm going to just type this. This comes from Crystal Thomas, and I love her definition of what empowerment is. So I'm going to go ahead and just share this real quick here, because I want you to think for a moment, what does empowerment start to look like for you? Right? So give me a sec here. And I love what Crystal Thomas says. She says, empowerment is encouraging and bringing yourself to a point where you can do the things you want to do, encouraging others and helping them do things they want to do. Is that what empowerment is to you? I'm going to drop this in here from our friend here, Crystal, right? And this is really key because when we're talking about owning our worth, and we're talking about charging more for our services and our products, this is really key. If empowerment is really internal and it's really about encouraging and bringing yourself to a point where you can do the things that you want to do, right? And there's a combination of self-love and self-care and all of that. If you are an empowered individual, why is it still so hard for you to command higher prices and charge your worth? Think about that for a second. In the role of being a mentor, working for corporations and companies, I have over 10 years of experience in corporate America in product innovation and customer experience, right? I have sat at the table with diverse groups of executives in large companies, right? Multi-million dollar projects. And I often was the only person of color, let alone the only female in the room. I have sat at the table, right, working for nonprofits as part of their board of directors, right, with a good mix of females at the table, right, male men and women at the table, but also often being the only women of color. I have also been a philanthropist and community activist for the communities that I care about, bridging the gap between really our culture and really what we love about our culture, but also love about being here in America. And I've also sat at the table as an entrepreneur for women-led organizations, as well as women and men-led organizations that are open to everyone, as well as Asian-specific AAPI entrepreneurs. So why is it that if women can command and believe that they are empowered and they still don't feel like they can command those high prices? Why is that? Now, let me ask you, what does power mean to you? When you hear the word power, what comes up for you? Type that into the comments. Power, right? Does it make you go, ugh, that's icky? Does it make you cringe? Does it somehow feel negative and feel bad? Oftentimes people think of power and they think of people abusing their power. You see, it's because money is often associated with power, and we tend to believe that power is associated with something negative. And this is why, especially for the ladies, it's hard for us to command higher prices, because in order for us to command higher prices, we actually have to own, and not just empowerment, but our power. And that is a very different beast to tackle, because we often think that with power comes great responsibility and there's a lot of negativity, so we shrink back. Why? Because money is often associated with power, and we think of power as something that's negative, right? How many of you can feel me on this? Drop me some fires in the comments if you're hearing what I'm saying to you. I love what Crystal here says. Crystal Thomas, right? She's like bringing it, right? Her definition of power is that power is something you have over others, or an ability to make things go your way. Just pause for a second there and write down the definition of what you think that is. And if you're just watching this, I want you to know that you can also download my workbook. I have a free workbook for today's training that I want to make available to you, because I really want you to think about what this starts to look like, right? And this is what the workbook looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and scroll here. It's the Ultimate Empowerment to Earning Workbook. So if you want that at any point in time, just type workbook into the comments, and my team and I will get that link out to you. It is a free download, because I'm all about trying to get more diverse entrepreneurs empowered, but really taking it to the next level in their game, which is to command and earn their worth. And folks, in order to do that, you've got to own your power. If empowerment is really about bringing yourself to the point where you can help others, really encourage them, and help them do the things that they want to do, why is it that it's so hard for us to command higher prices and make money by simply owning our power and owning the fact that persuasion and influence is truly the ability to make things go your way? Don't we want more things to go our way? But the idea of selling scares a lot of people, because it sounds like you're manipulating people, but it's not. What if sales was simply an invitation, right? I mean, what is empowerment to you and what is power to you? So let me break down some of the common universal themes and patterns I've seen working in corporate America, running my own business, and being a community activist and philanthropist. First of all, money should not define you. You must define money. I have seen many empowered women working in corporate America afraid to negotiate their salary or ask for a promotion. Why? Because they have not yet owned their power. They're letting salaries define them, and they're letting other people's definition of salary define them. But what happens when you define money? As an entrepreneur, I have seen many women, talented, hidden gems, doing what they're doing, but unable to generate leads in their business or charging so low that they actually are perceived as adding little value in the marketplace. Yes, your price tag lets people know their perception of you, right? And that's because when you think about power, you think about money, you're letting money define you. But what if you could define money? What if you're the one that is taking that empowerment and saying, here's what money really is for me? What would that do to your life? I'm going to tell you how it's changed for me. You see, I'm on a mission to help 100 diverse entrepreneurs grow their business to multiple 6 figures and 7 figures and above. Because why? Because I know the power of money. And I know that when you are compassionately ambitious, and the more money that you make in your business, the more you're going to give it and invest it back into the causes and the communities that you care about. How do I know that? Because I am one of those people. And inside of here in my community group, my students and my clients that I say yes to you, that say yes to me, they're also compassionately ambitious. They give to their communities. They give to the causes that they care about. And I have seen it time and time and again, especially for the ladies. When we have money and when our families are taken care of, we give that back to our community. And when you think about those causes that you care about, when you think about the community that you care about, if you're not investing in it, who will? You're going to rely on outsiders or another nonprofit out there to invest in your community? We have plenty of millionaires. Where is that money going? Lamborghinis and Ferraris? I love expensive things too. But you know what I love more? I love giving money back to the community, helping a single mom go through college, right, with a scholarship, get that higher degree, a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, find a better job, and is now able to take care of her kids. And when she gets to that level of success in her business, if she makes that kind of money, guess what she does? She pays it forward. That's my definition of money. What's your definition of money? See, when you make money bigger than your why, when you take your business and you make it bigger than just your why, all of a sudden, all the empowerment rules that you think you knew, you've got to break. Because you can't truly have empowerment without your earning power. I'm going to just, wear the hat. I know that we're talking about business, but because I do a lot of community activism work too, I want to give you this example because I think if you can understand this example, then the example with your business, I think, becomes a little bit easier, right? So in my community, I did work with domestic violence victims, okay? And one of the number one things I saw with women, aside from obviously the abuse and the legality and all of that stuff with their perpetrators, was at the end of the day, the women that had the ability to have a job, that could find daycare providers for their kids, were in a much better position to walk away from abusive relationships. But if any point in time they did not have a job, even as much as their friends and family poured self-love and empowerment into them, even as much as they journaled and manifested and meditated and worked out and gave themselves self-love and self-care in that abusive relationship, they could never walk away and take their kids with them because they were financially dependent on the relationship to provide for their kids. And then if their daycare provider support system was based on the in-laws, right? Because she could now not only walk away from her family, but if she took her kids with her and she had to now find a new daycare provider system, which costs money, she could never walk away. And so I started seeing this trend of women empowerment, right? It didn't matter. It just did not matter. And that those relationships, even if that woman that had an abusive relationship was truly empowered, she looked confident on the outside. If she did not feel that she had the ability to create value and money by negotiating her salary or starting her business and commanding higher prices, she could not truly walk away. Even when she knew logically that relationship wasn't good for her. I want you to think about that. When I was working for corporate, all right, same thing, but in a very different scenario, right? I would have the most intelligent, well-educated women, right, who wanted to negotiate their salary, and they were seeking mentorship and executive sponsors to do that, but they could not ask for a promotion or a raise. And then what they would do is they would just go find a new job because somehow asking or looking for a new job seemed a lot easier than going back to their boss and negotiating for the salary and the raise that they deserved. Right? These are, again, intelligent, smart, beautiful, on the inside and outside women, right? That focused on self-love, that focused on self-care, that focused on their communities and their families, right? And they still could not negotiate their salaries and command promotions. And instead, they would leave. Now, going back to her business, where does it show up? Oftentimes, when I'm working with my female clients, it shows up in sales, right? The courage or the confidence to get predictable sales. And I often say it's not the sale that you want, it's your revenue goal for the month, right? If your goal is $10,000 and you only had 2 sales because they're $5,000 each, wouldn't you be happy? Or would you really prefer 1,000 sales at $100 a piece to hit $10,000 goals? It's always about the revenue goals at the end of the day, not really truly about the sales. And that has everything to do with what, right? I often say, right, sales is quite easy when it comes to math. It's either volume or price, right? Either way, you're going to hit your financial goals. So why is that? And what I have seen that I think is often unique to females, in my experience more than men, is that men will come to the table and they know exactly what their money is. They will own it. Sometimes they are owning it so much that you're like, wow, you're really confident. That's amazing. Let's just get consistent on your human connection, right? Like, let's just bring it back, right? Or sometimes the females are really great with their human connection, but they're not as confident with their talent, their service, their zone of genius, right? So it's a little tweaking on either end, right? But that's really the difference. So, what are some things that you need to do? Well, first of all, okay, this is why you need a shift from a charity mindset to a prosperity mindset. Your services and your programs and your products is not a charity, okay? If you want to start a charity, you are a nonprofit or a hobby. There's nothing wrong with that. You go do your thing. But if you want this to be a business which is repeatable, right? Repeatable, consistent, income every month so that you can live a life where you can provide for your family and loved ones, and then you can go on vacation, and then you can give money back to the community and the causes that you care about. That's a business. And a business needs to survive, and the business needs money to go. Got it? So you got to shift from a charity mindset to a prosperity mindset. Value doesn't come from giving things away. Think about it. Charity, people give it away, people are grateful, right? But often it's an exchange of free services, right? You're giving away, people are really appreciative of you. Prosperity, what does that mean to you? And again, if you want the workbook link, just type workbook into the comments. This is a free workbook, and my team and I will get the link out to you. But what does prosperity mean to you? Prosperity doesn't, it's, to me, it's like there's an abundance there, right? There's not a scarcity, there's an abundance there where I'm going to be able to, maybe like planting a seed, I'm going to nurture it and cultivate it, right? And then all of a sudden it's going to grow and it's going to prosper because I invest a little bit into my seed, right? My plot of land. And then all of a sudden it's going to multiply, right? See, when you think about your business that way, right, that it takes money to make money, when you invest money, whether it's in your own growth, hiring people, or truly selling, right, it's going to prosper. It's going to multiply. And what happens when your business multiplies? You make more money. And when you own your empowerment and you own your power, you have the decision, you have the choice on what to do with that money. So you got to shift from a charity mindset to a prosperity mindset. In both mindsets, people are still grateful, right? You can still give free things away. I'm guilty. I'm an overgiver and I'm proud of it. But like I teach my students and clients, when you're an overgiver, you actually have to position yourself and find the courage to charge higher ticket because the value that you bring is going to be so much more than someone else who might be a lower price point and giving less, right? So you've got to almost compensate for your overgiving by charging more because the more that you charge, the more value people really get because they then value their own time and investment in doing business with you, right? So what are some ways that you can really shift, right, this for you? How do you break all these empowerment rules to truly start to earn your worth? One, and again, this isn't a workbook, it's a type workbook if you want this, your mindset. You got to break the rules first, ruling your mindset. Everything that you think you know about empowerment, power, money, you got to toss it out the door. Yeah, you got to break it. You got to break those rules that are ruling your mindset. You think that you're a growth mindset person? You're telling me that you'd love to learn and develop in self-growth and self-development? Huh. If you are you hesitating when I say break those rules in your mind? Let them go. Does it make you a little nervous? Because if it does, then you're not really committed to growth. You're not. Because growth isn't just to build upon what you already know. Sometimes growth, the fastest growth, the growth that makes you accelerate your success, oftentimes is unlearning what you think you already know to relearn something new, right? I'm going to use a really simple analogy here to make a point. Let's say that you learn how to ride a bike, right? As a kid, I learned how to ride a bike. I can ride a bike. Now, if I know the basic fundamentals of how to ride a bike, now if I want to all start doing cycling and competing, right? I know that I have balance and I know that I got a left foot and a right foot that needs to go on the pedal. But do you think that all I really need to know to all of a sudden train and become and compete in cycling? Absolutely not. It's probably having to do with like conditioning myself, right? I'm going to probably have to lean into my bike differently. I need to buy a certain type of equipment or bike. I need to not only bike and practice and put in the time, but I also need to exercise or run or lift weights or do certain routines to build up my endurance and my tolerance for cycling for hours and hours and hours. It's not just jumping on a bike. So your mindset to shift from really charity to prosperity is I want you to write down all the rules about empowerment, what it means to you, what you believe to be empowered, and to challenge yourself and say, how do I break this rule? Is it charity that's fueling this empowerment mentality, or is it prosperity? Challenge it. Law of action says this. Law of action is that based on your behavior and actions that you've already set in motion, which is what you've been currently doing today, that already set in motion the trajectory of what's to come. If you've been working 9 to 5, but you've been thinking about starting your business, but you still haven't quit or you still haven't started your business, guess what? What does the law of attraction say? You're going to continue doing that. You're on that trajectory. That's your path, right? If you've been getting inconsistent sales in your business, doing the same action Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, what does the law of action say? You've already set in motion the same trajectory, the same results, because that's what you're doing. You've been thinking about consistent sales, but what have you not done? You have not disrupted your action. If you want different results, my friend, you've got to disrupt and replace your current actions with something else. If I want to lose weight, I can't just be doing what I'm currently doing, right? Netflix, ice cream, eating on the couch. I got to replace that action with maybe going to the gym, watching Netflix on the treadmill instead of on the couch, right? Law of action, folks. You got to replace your current action with a different action. Thinking about it is not an action. Are you feeling me on that? If you're feeling me on that, drop me some fire, send my way, right? And if you want the workbook for this, just type workbook into the comments and my team will get that out to you, okay? Second rule, what are the stories you're telling yourself? Change your stories, change your results, okay? When it comes to empowerment, are you content with being empowered, but barely any money in the bank account? I know money doesn't define happiness. I know that. But money sure does give you a lot more options, right? I have worked with so many different women across different sectors, different industries, from nonprofit to my community activism work to now entrepreneurship. And I have seen the look and feel of empowerment in so many different shades, right? From the young professionals, young women, to single mothers, to married women, and women and above who are perhaps empty nesters, okay, in my line of work. And I can tell you that whatever story you're telling yourself, I feel empowered. Yeah, I'm just trying to, work-life balance, self-love, self-care, right? Those are amazing affirmations you should be giving yourself. But if it's not yielding to the results that you want to see, if it's not creating the consistent sales in your business, if it's not allowing you to show up and be visible and be discoverable online with your business to therefore generate consistent sales in your business, is that true empowerment? You're not owning your earning power. See, empowerment takes you so far. But to truly be able to have options in your life, which is really what a freedom life and business is all about, is options. That's what money gives you, is options. When you don't have money, you don't have a lot of options. You gotta own your earning power. You gotta own it. So change your stories, change your results. Last thing I'm gonna leave you with is that visibility, being seen in your business, it is not negotiable. Period. Period. You must be seen. You must be heard in order to get paid, y'all. This is true for promotions. This is why if you're behind your desk doing the work and your boss doesn't see you, the executive VPs don't see you because you're not out there talking. You don't get the promotion. You don't get the raise. You're out there running your business, sitting behind your business, just going through and posting things here and there, working on your course, right? Developing your website, not being visible, not being seen. You're not getting the sales. Folks, in business, this is a visibility game. This is a being discoverable game. This is a go to Google search and you show up top 10 game. That's the world that we live in today, folks. Empowerment is about what to you? To me, empowerment is about advocating for those that were once where I was, right? The entrepreneurs that really want to create that freedom business, but just don't know how, right? The woman that might be a single mom or, she's married, but she knows that she is so worth so much more and has so much potential in her. But she just doesn't know where to start because her friends and families may not necessarily be the most supportive, right? Or to the men where I've been at too, where, they want to start their business, but they feel the mounting pressure of having to keep their families safe, secure, and protect them. And so therefore they're still holding on to that job. I've been there too. Empowerment to me is being okay with where you're at, being okay with the fact that you can still show up unprepared, hair messy, or in a nice bun, and you're still going to show up and give it 1,000%. Empowerment to me is not only encouraging and paving the way or a path for other people to show up and own their power, but empowerment to me is empowerment meaning power is that I own my ability to influence the people, the things, the outcomes that I want for myself and my family. That I own the accountability, that no one else is responsible for that but me. That's what empowerment and owning my power is. Yeah, it's about influencing people. We all have to be influenced and persuaded. You ever try to argue with a 5-year-old, right? Or let alone a 12-year-old, right? Or let alone a stranger and trying to get them to say yes to you? If you want the workbook, type workbook and we'll get this workbook out to you. I mean, I'm really deep this week, y'all, but you've got to break all those empowerment rules. Everything that you think you know, you got to change those stories. You got to shift that mindset from charity to prosperity, right? You change those stories, you change those results, right? You break those empowerment rules and you rewrite them to own your earning power. That's how you earn your worth, right? I had a client recently. I've been working with her for just the last 2 months, and I'm super proud of her because she's trying to grow her business on the side while holding down a full-time job, right? And she's a mother and she's got a family. And she's like, Elizabeth, you're just telling me that I got to do my social media, post. I don't know if I could do that. And I said, look, we're just not doing social media, posting spaghetti on the wall. We got a really clear, I call it a conversation to conversion path, one clear conversion path where social media is what? It's where conversations happen. And we know exactly where we want to take our audience. It's a conversion to conversion, conversation to conversion. That's what I meant to say. Conversation to conversion path. That's what your social media's got to do for you. That's what your content's got to do to you. Otherwise, you're just showing up every day and posting a whole lot of good stuff with no sales to show for it, right? 2 months in. And again, she's been doing this, trying to just be consistent. And she's like, I'm going to be consistent every day. She showed up. We optimized her social media profiles, right? I said, does your audience even know you're open for business? It's not like a brick and mortar, right? Where all of a sudden you have a sign out there in front of your business is now open. No, folks, when you're online, your social media is your billboard that says now open. Okay. Do they even know you're open for? She's like, they don't even know I'm open for business. They probably think, I said, they probably think it's a hobby because you're sharing all this great, content, tips, and advice, but they probably think it's a hobby and they love all of it, but they don't even know you're a business because you didn't even say to them, hey, if you'd love to work with me, send me a DM. It's an invitation to do business, right? And I'm super proud of her because she's showing up consistently and now she's starting to own her visibility, right? She's, I am dare to say she was probably very empowered, but now she's starting to step into and take her empowerment to the next level, which is now truly owning her earning power, right? And what that feels like, folks, when you know that you can manifest and turn and create value out of thin air, it takes your empowerment to a completely different level because you no longer are dependent on an employer. You are no longer dependent on a system, right? Like, for example, my example about doing work with domestic violence victims, you're no longer dependent on a support system built around daycare for your kids because now you can actually afford to leave and find a different alternative for daycare. See, it takes your empowerment to a completely different level. And when you finally can embrace that not only can you accept your own skin and that you can love yourself, right? But that you have truly the power, the ability, the capability to create value out of thin air where none existed before, that you have the ability to make as much money as you want, and there is no earning ceiling like at a company where you got to negotiate and prove that you're worth your 3% raise. Hello. I've been there. When you realize, embrace your earning power, my friend, that is true empowerment. You know what I'm saying? That if I need to roll in $50,000 in cash this week because I want to go do something, that I have the ability to do that. That's what empowerment feels like to me. Because I've been broke. I've worked at employers where I had to negotiate and argue for literally a $2 an hour raise, like $2 on top of what I was making. Or I had to argue for a 5-figure bonus after traveling literally as a consultant Monday through Thursday for half the year and missing my kids, special moments, right? See, that's what empowerment looks like. That's what empowerment looks like, right? So if you want the workbook to what I'm talking about today, drop workbook into the comments. I see you. I see Molly showing up. You can always catch the replay, Molly. Glad that you're here. Oh, I haven't seen William in a while. William's here too. Good to see you, right? So even though today I'm talking about empowerment and I'm focusing on ladies too, I want the gentlemen here in the room to also be able to look at this and ask yourself, what does that look like for the gentleman in your life? I've worked with male clients before, and their burden, the burden that they shoulder, the empowerment, I don't know if guys would call it empowerment, but it is very different. It is very different. But you see, when men and women, we have the ability to take empowerment, which to me is really about self-acceptance and who we are, right? And that other people's opinions of you matter less to you than your own. And that when you have the belief in your heart, soul, and mind and body that you have true agency over creating the life that you want, to me, that's empowerment. But when you ramp that up to truly owning your power and earning power, and now know that you can truly manifest and generate, 5 to 10 figures in sales, just like that in a day, just like that in a week, it just really takes your empowerment to a different level. It really does, right? But in order to get there, in order to really do that, right, you got to break all the empowerment rules first to truly earn your worth. And as I said to you in the beginning, right, visibility in your business is not negotiable. You got to be discoverable. You got to be searchable, right? You must be heard. You must be seen. You must get paid. This is true for promotions. This is true for running your business. You've got to own your voice. And my friends, you've got to own your influence. You've got to own your influence. And I'm going to wrap up today's teaching by saying this. If you do not write your narrative, someone else will write it for you. Okay? In your business, if you do not write your narrative, someone else will assume and write it for you. And I'll wrap it up with a recent conversation I had with a client, right? She needed some help in her marketing, okay? And she really wanted some help with how to find her clients online, okay? And so she wasn't sure she wanted to work with me. We're going back and forth via DM, right? And so I had sent her a testimonial of a client that, I had worked with a similar service, and I sent it to her. And she watched it and she said, it just sounds like based on the client testimonial, Elizabeth, what you do, I've already done. She was like, I've already spent a lot of money on other marketers and things like that, right? And I'll keep it real with you. I don't consider myself a marketer per se. I'm really a business integrator and a strategist. Marketing is a big chunk of what I do because a lot of it is really about persuasion, influence, human connection, and leadership, right? Marketing are just tactics, okay? In my opinion, they're like learning how to do emails, how to do a blog and create content, repurpose it 5 different. So I know marketing, but I would say that marketing isn't like the top thing I do. What I know is how to build businesses online, how to create influence, and really lead with the human connection, right? And I've been doing this for 10 plus years, from my corporate days until now in my business, right? When you're in the world of product innovation, you understand how people, consumers make decisions, and you position and create products and services to get them to say yes. Okay. That's my business. That's what I've been doing. So here she was already saying no to me. Okay. Now, some people may have just been like, oh, I've already lost her. She's already a lost lead. She's a lost cause. She's already said no to me. Right. So empowerment would have just left it there, meaning other people might have taken that rejection to heart. I didn't. Because empowerment, work in progress, led me to really say, she thinks that she's already had what I've had to offer, right? That my quote marketing is like everyone else that's out there, just based on one client testimonial, right? Of you. So I could have left it at that. But I know that I'm not like everyone else. I know that. Because how do I know that? Because with my clients, I have shown them how to increase their prices by 25 times and sell it. That's more than just marketing and a social media plan. I'm telling you that. Okay. How do I know that? Right? Working with a client for 1 month, I show her how to optimize her social media, and it led to a new lead that has sales of $1,500. That is more than just a social media plan. I'm telling you. Okay. So what did I do? In that lesson, I want to share that with you to say that if you do not own your narrative, someone else will own it for you. In this conversation, I turned it around. I didn't like the narrative that she was writing about me. Yes, ideally, our customers needed education. She clearly needed to, right? Education. I mean, it's not her fault, right? This is not her expertise. This is mine. So what did I do? I flipped that conversation around. And I used it as an opportunity to educate her on what I did and why it's different. But I didn't just do that like, here's what you need to know. I did that through listening, through the human connection. And I can tell you that straight up no became a yes. Because what I did was, one, empowerment stepped in, where her rejection of me, I didn't take to heart. right? It took me a long time to get there. It didn't make me feel bad. It didn't give me, negative energy or any of that. But the earning power stepped in, right? Because I was able to take that conversation, turn it around, and flipped a no to a yes because I added value to that conversation in a way that addressed the needs that she had. So if you don't write your narrative, someone will. The question is, do you want them to write that narrative about you? Or do you want to be the one writing that narrative? And I'm telling you right now, because I have been through it, and I have mentored, and I have led, and I've managed, and I've coached, working with very different, men and women across different sectors, across the different hats, from private to for-profit, to my own community work, to sitting and working in corporate America, to now running my own business as an entrepreneur and running my own business. If you do not break all those empowerment rules of everything that you think you know and embrace your earning power, you haven't truly achieved empowerment yet. You're just literally getting started, right? So I love what Molly said here. She said, boom, mic drop. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, right? All right, so if you want my workbook for today, I know we had a really deep conversation today, but this was top of mind for me because here I am talking about sales. Here I am talking about showing up consistently, giving you the best that I got with human connection, leadership, sales, and marketing, right? And how to create content that converts. But if I didn't talk about some of this deeper stuff, right, that I started to see with my clients and students, men and women, and just really share, folks, this teaching moment that I have been able to just been blessed with all the work that I have done with you. And just to let you falsely believe that empowerment and confidence is all that you need to be able to get consistent sales, I feel like I would have failed you. And so you've got to break all the empowerment rules to truly start earning your worth. You've got to embrace your earning power. That's how you take empowerment to the next level. All right. So drop workbook if you want the workbook. And next week, I'm going to be talking about, what am I talking about next week? Selling with the human connection. That's going to be our topic next week. Same place, same time, Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Central Time, right here inside of the Online Business Builders and Entrepreneur Free Community Group. I will see you next week. Until then, be well and challenge yourself to rise and shine. Take care now.